This is part 2 of 3 of the piece titled Sam Harris and Humanity's Moral Future. To begin with the last paragraph. The great teacher of compassion, Gautama Buddha, proposed what he called the Four Noble Truths, which Mr. Harris has to know of as a modern educated man. But in Mr. Harris's universe, the first truth can't be seen, which Gautama Buddha put forward as life is suffering. This true, down-to-earth observation of the human condition is essential for understanding existence, and lacks the dreaming idealism and utopianism that pervades Mr. Harris's thought. Moreover, the next 3 noble truths involve solving the problem of suffering within ourselves, and not by going out and demanding the rest of the world change to accord with our own view. For all his search for true moral values, Mr. Harris seems not to have discovered Gandhi's dictum, "Be the change you want to see in the world." Assuming as another of the highest values, Mr. Harris believes in the rational perfectibility of the human being, and that if we were just as rational as is he, most all suffering would be eliminated from life, because out of science would rise a moral expertise that would reveal, as if from on high, universal moral laws which all should then be taught to obey. In Mr. Harris's universe, the religious demagogue would be replaced with the scientific demagogue, who of course would not recognize his own hypocrisy at all. Yes, I am a little bit exaggerating his argument, but only a little. The core of it remains as described, and we will seldom find in Mr. Harris's work a value we might call human freedom. The behaviorist B.F. Skinner got so wrapped up in his limited view of human nature, coupled with an adoration of science, that he wrote a book called Beyond Freedom and Dignity, arguing for using scientific methods to modify human behavior, and thus supposedly producing happier people. Sadly, Harris seems to want to resurrect this horrible way of viewing human beings as perfectible clay for the molding by natural scientists. As a social philosopher, I am not surprised that Mr. Harris's views are popular and thought by many others to be highly rational and appropriate. We do exist in an age where there has arisen a religion of natural science that has been aptly described as scientism. Its believers accept uncritically the theories of natural science, and given that this same age also contains a falling apart of many institutional religions, who are justly criticized for their own obvious hypocrisies, it is no wonder that at the intersection of scientific and religious debate there is little resolution, but rather a lot of seemingly heated conversation which displays yet real little light or true human warmth. Not only that, but many today who are fans of his work are themselves unfamiliar with the great history of ideas in Western civilization, in which all these matters have been discussed and elaborated with far greater wisdom than Harris offers. The reality is that the public debate going on between those whose beliefs involve the teachings of modern materialistic natural science and those whose beliefs involve religious principles they would not allow to be rationally examined, this debate is deeply flawed, because both sides are seldom willing to be at the least a bit self-critical, that is, look to the beam in their own eyes, and for the most part don't bother to be historical, that is, they don't recognize that these questions are not new, and in fact, the way the present-day debates are conducted, their superficiality becomes obvious whenever we look to that aspect of the past where these questions were more thoroughly examined. Both sides tend today to act as if no one before them thought about these matters. Now it is not my place here, or is there time here to do so, but it is possible to elaborate more fully about how to deepen the debate. I wrote of this on my website in the essay, Does God Exist?, which is not a proof of God, by the way, but rather a proof of the superficiality of the modern debate. Instead of deep discussion, we mostly get the disputants preaching to their own semi-educated choirs. What we need is instead to renew our acquaintance with what the past has thought and taught, and from there go forward, with each side seeking not to justify its own biases, but rather with a willingness to understand each other better, less beam and more mote, and more importantly, to actually be seeking the truth. Rather than pronounce willy-nilly the possession of the truth, the sides come together to seek the truth together, recognizing in true humility that to be authentically wise is to cultivate ignorance. Well, this is unlikely, given that self-importance and egotism easily attaches to one who proclaims to know better than the other guy. It remains possible to do so, however improbable. For the reality is that both science and religion, as presently practiced, were they to actually seek the truth together, would find that they share a similar kind of one-sided flaw. The claim of Harris's kind of scientism for an exclusive power in the realm of truth is excessive, in the same way that claims that many religions assert of being a primal moral authority is excessive. Both are out of balance, and both are filled with the clinging death grip of a fundamentalism that cannot imagine it could ever be wrong. This is partially why Mr. Harris's performance, again, let's not miss the fact that it is a performance, seems so similar to that of a preacher. Just as do the hyper-religious, the hyper-rational assumes self-righteously a superior point of view. Mr. Harris firmly believes he knows more than others, and that his approach is better, and there is no reason whatsoever for him to reconsider his views. He wants to rid the world of the religious bigot, all in the name of himself, as possessing a superior moral position. I will pause now. Once more. The last part is next.